Yes, this has been growing. It is definitely not a recent thing. China has been engaged in Africa's security sectors since the 1950s, 1960s. But that engagement has accelerated, particularly since the establishment of the Belt and Road Initiative. Over 53 countries have now signed on to that initiative. But that initiative also comes with certain security elements. And so China has been very, very active negotiating different types of security agreements with various African countries. So this is partly what the report is focusing on.
You know, Paul, I read with a lot of curiosity, your article mentions that China is also training Africa's lawyers and magistrates. Should the continent be concerned about that?
Well, it depends. It depends on whether the byproduct of that training is leading to a situation where African magistrates and judges are no longer adhering to constitutional principles of independence, fairness, and impartiality. If the training is leading to that, then yes, there's cause for concern. If that training is being partaken but is not leading to a situation where these trainees, some of them who are very senior members of the judiciary, still maintain their independence and still maintain professionalism, then there's no cause for concern. So on this matter, again, as with all things that involve Chinese engagement, African agency, especially agency that protects African interest, is extremely important because these are constitutional principles that Africans themselves signed on to. They were not forced to sign onto these principles by anybody. These are African principles.
What other critical information were you able to gather about China's footprints in Africa, and can you name some of the countries?
Well, Chinese security organs have been operational on the ground. I mean, over and above training, capacity building. I mean, over 20,000. If you look at what has been happening since the 1960s, thousands of African police, paramilitaries received training in China. But what is quite interesting is over the past years, we have seen operations on the ground. So, for instance, Ugandan special forces and Chinese police commandos in February of 2022 were involved in an operation on Ugandan soil that led to the apprehension of wanted Chinese nationals in that country that was said to have been part of a gang. We have also seen this in Angola a few years back. And there were also reports from the Egyptian media about the presence of a Chinese security in Egypt that participated in questioning Chinese students. This was part of an operation that took place a few weeks after Egypt and the Chinese Ministry of Public Security signed an agreement. So, these sorts of operations are starting to create a little bit of attention and, some discussion on the African continent and outside.
Right. Paul, thank you very much for the article and your insight. Paul Nantulya is a research specialist at the Africa Center for Strategic Studies.